There was a point in time that I thought I actually understood my numbers, but I was quietly scaling something that was draining my business. All right. But the reality here was just that I didn't even realize it at the time. And so, to the tune of really of me cost me thousands of dollars. Now, this video here was truly inspired by a time in a sense that I used to treat all campaigns as one and kind of lumped everything together as one. And this was causing me to really make emotional decisions, right? And this kind of CEO mindset that we'll be tapping into and things that are really probably holding you back from getting your first 5-figure month and scaling beyond to multiple 5-figure months, the shifts that are going to be required and really making order to prove to myself at the time and potentially for you watching this right now that my business was actually worth making more, right? We have to get through this in order to get to that next level. So I want to really just jump straight in and get to some of these big levers, these small hinges that are going to swing open those huge doors for you to unlock success inside of your business, especially your coaching business here, right? What's going on? My name is Justice Severin. I'm here making these videos every Wednesday for you for coaches, high ticket consultants, service providers, agency owners, and above, really just to get you set up in a great spot so that you can start to scale your personal brand and the brand of your business in a way that's going to be not just sustainable, but really allow you to live more of a lifestyle business so you can really thrive without feeling like you're chained to your desk every day from morning to, sun up to sundown, if you will. So today is going to be a great video just to really kind of tackle and get into this, just because I think that when it comes down to running ads and getting your marketing dialed in and understanding data, really, this is a video far beyond even just ads themselves, understanding how you should really be analyzing the data that comes into your business, because data is going to come into businesses in a variety of different ways depending on where you're at. So this is just gonna be a really good one for you. So if you're new here, definitely drop the comment down new. Like I said, I love to see who's here new watching. And obviously if you're returning, click the subscribe button. You're here every week soaking in the good stuff. No reason you shouldn't get notified as soon as I drop them for you. You don't have to wait for my email letting you know, right? So, or the YouTube algorithm if it happens to be doing its job, which I'm not banking on that. But let's go ahead and jump right in here. First big piece I want to tap into. I've got about like 5 key points. I'm just going to go deep on all of them here to just make sure you can leave with a ton of value. So first piece is really the shift from guessing to operating, right? When I think about myself when I was getting started, my first $300,000 that I made in the business was purely organic. I didn't spend a dime on paid ads there, right? And I say this because I'm not a guy who's anti-organic, right? Obviously, I don't believe I would have gotten to where I'm at today if it wasn't for that, right? Now business over 2 million in counting. It's like, I don't know if that would have happened without that initial steps, or at least, I never regret where I came from, because at the end of the day, that's why I am where I am at this exact moment in my life. Who knows what the path would have looked like otherwise, right? So when you're organic, you can be kind of loose with how you're running things, right? You can say, content was off this week a little bit. You can blame the algorithm, right? You can kind of ride the waves knowing that you have some loose predictability, especially for myself back then. I was probably, basically I struggled for a while, started off in the business, then kind of things started getting moving for myself at my first $1,000 day, which was my first, $1,000 month. Next month I had $2,000 days, so it was my first 2K month. Then the month after that I had my first 15K month, and things continue to grow. So yes, I was getting results, but I was able to be looser with it, as I'm kind of alluding to here. But when ad spend starts to go up, when you start shifting, right, there's a reason why I switched it into ads, because I believe it's far more predictable, faster, and all the things, and especially if you are already good at what you do. For myself, when I was getting into this, organic worked really well because I hadn't really proven to myself that I could help people, right? And I wasn't even, when I first started off too, I was an affiliate marketer. We're talking back in 2020, before I really scaled up things on the coaching business side. 2021's coaching really took off. So for me, it worked out well starting as an affiliate, because I got to leverage someone else's knowledge and experience and kind of piggyback off them, right? So that helped a lot. But then when I started to switch, obviously, and starting to go deeper on my own side, ads really started playing a powerful role in the business for me. So now, to tie this all back, when ad spend goes up, things start to shift. Right now, I say shift in comparison to how you really act when it comes down towards organic. A lot of people, I see this as a flaw. I say it all the time. You are still spending your time. Time is, as people know, time is a far greater asset. You don't get any time back that you're spending, right? Where money, you can make your money back. So let's just put that out there so you understand. Make sure we don't overlook that point, right? But like I said, when it comes to ad spend, now every decision has a cost attached to it, which typically tends to have a deeper pain, or triggers a different pain and triggers different emotions for certain people out there. It's you watching potentially if you're a coach right now, right? So now you have this like kind of, I can't afford, and realistically, I guess the reality is now you just can't afford to feel your way through it. And this is the shift that tends to happen when you start moving from being a creator to moving into stepping into being an operator. All right. For moving from being just kind of a coach to a CEO and really running a true coaching business that thrives. Right. And so this is this idea between feeling and seeing. All right. So this is a big one. Like feeling is something you can just kind of, and we all, this is the ironic part too, is especially when I started getting into really having good ways to lay my data out there so I can actually tell me a story, which I'll get into here. But sometimes even before I see it all out in a way that actually makes it very clear to read, clear to see where my next decisions need to come from, you can feel it in your gut. I think the problem is that when you just feel things are going on, it doesn't always push you towards action because there is still this bit of lack of clarity there, right? But when you can see the data clearly laid out, it changes everything. You start to, you think you know what's happening in your business, right? It until you actually see it. And I think that's where this gut feeling versus like, that's where I always talk about true data-driven decisions. You can't make that with your gut, even though your gut probably knows what's happening, but it's hard to make very intentional changes off of that because most people are operating off of vibes and I think vibes there's a place for it. But when it comes down, like I said, you're putting money into the machine. That's not the way to go. It's the most dangerous phrase in business is it feels like fill in the blank. It feels like this is happening. It feels like that's happening, right? You need to stay away from that. You need to stay away from things like, vanity metrics, platform dashboards, right? Whatever your Stripe dashboard's telling you, and just going off of that. That's not giving you the whole story, right? Ego averages, best month syndrome. You're trying to chase that, and anything below it is a complete failure, right? The whole, daily fluctuation anxiety, gut-based decision making, and once again, like it feels like a slow week narrative. These stories that we're telling ourselves are creating a more negative impact on the business than we're actually realizing. So we've got to start now, and trend lines instead, percentage changes, right? We need to analyze the nuances, the bottlenecks, the true bottlenecks, and the flow behind it all, right? This is where I just put out a video last week where I was talking about this idea about being aware of what the bottlenecks are. That's only half the battle. Being aware is one thing. Like I said, pat yourself on the back if you're aware, but if you're not doing anything behind that, it's useless, right? And this ties right into the next piece here. Data without action is completely useless, right? So there are really kind of two categories I would put people who are losing right now. These are the coaches that are losing inside of these two categories. One, they're not aware of the bottleneck. Totally fair, right? Maybe you haven't had a great, structure, mentorship, guidance around even finding out what the real bottleneck is to why you're losing, right? Why your business isn't growing, why you're stagnant, right? Then there's the second category, which is that the coaches who are aware, yet they're still not fixing it. I think this is the most dangerous person. And I don't mean dangerous in a good way, right? But both are stuck is the moral of the story there. Right? And so if you don't know your bottleneck, that is absolutely a problem. If you do know your bottleneck and you're not fixing it, I believe that is an even bigger problem. And it's most likely because you're not going layers deep enough to get to the root cause of why you're not attacking and addressing that bottleneck. Because every day you don't show up trying to fix that bottleneck, you are wasting time and losing money. And especially when it comes down to paid ads, you're absolutely wasting time. When it comes down to when it comes down to paid ads, you're absolutely wasting money. When it comes to organic, you are absolutely wasting time. Both of them are painful. To some people, they just view the wasting time as a little less painful. That could be time spent with your family. That could be time spent doing things you actually like to do. So maybe you need to start stacking up that time towards what is that you really want to be doing. Because I don't think it's what you're doing with organic right now. With these people who are pumping out 3 posts a week and all this stuff that they're trying to do for organic, I'd rather have a more passive lead gen machine, which is what I teach inside of Branded Clients, so that we can really run this thing with ads and bring in daily buyers and let the ecosystem just get our high ticket offer out there without us, right? So that's how I like to kind of view it on that side. So Once we can start to see these differences, now we can start moving and adjusting accordingly, right? Scaling requires precision. When you're at the early stages, or at least, or kind of the lower ad budget realm, if you will, having just an overall picture with your data, I would argue is good enough, right? It is good enough, but at higher levels, it absolutely is not. And like a little asterisk here, even though it's good enough, why not start with the right foundation? Things are easier when you have less going on. Build on the right foundation now, so that then when you start to scale, you already have the right habits and you're seeing things through the correct lenses from day one, right? So at higher levels, it is not, though. This is not acceptable no matter what, I would say. So when ad spend increases, right, we need to start shifting we need to start shifting the frame. When you scale, when you start optimizing, you need things to be dialed in, because otherwise you'll get stuck making the wrong decisions over and over again. This is what, if we tie back to it all, this is how I was making decisions that were basically causing I'm scaling here, but quietly sabotaging myself, not realizing why, right? And these are the types of wrong decisions I'm talking about. You're scaling your ad spend in the wrong way, which maybe it's towards the wrong campaign, whatever the case is, because you're not seeing the real numbers that matter more. Maybe you're not scaling fast enough, right? That's probably the bigger issue I see with a lot of people, but I would say both are still equally painful going the wrong way. You're launching a new offer because you're not getting how many people, right? It's like, some people refer to it as, right, the lady in the red dress. It's like this, it's just the shiny object of, it's not always shiny objects aren't always, hey, you're looking to go invest in this new thing. It can be, what works in your business, yet you're trying to do something else that is like adjacent, right? It's it's perpendicular, it's parallel a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's not the main thing that's working, right? So launching a new offer may not be your solution. You just aren't aware of the levers, the buttons you need to press, the knobs you need to turn to get this main thing really functioning as you need it to, right? You get to changing the funnel, blaming the market. All of these are things that happen when you're not dialed in with how you're actually viewing the story. And this is the difference between a 10K month operator and a $50,000 a month operator. You probably know the same things, right? You're aware, you have the same knowledge and tactics, if you will, but you're not operating at the level that you need to be, right? And the fifth key here is really just that the dashboard is not the point. That's one of the big things I want to make sure I am making you aware of, that this video is not to make it where it's like, oh, you need a pretty dashboard. Like, oh, that's just a tool. That's just to paint the story, right? For those of you who are aware or not, I actually run two core offers inside of my business. One is branded clients, where it's actually the raw coaching business. This is my leveraged high ticket flagship offer I'm getting people in front of on a regular basis so I can support them in their business, right? And the other is branded clients ventures, aka B2C ventures, which is where more of my full on agency partnership arm of my business lives, right? So for my B2C ventures clients, I get them all hooked up with an extensive dashboard that helps to really adjust the way they think, right? Because this all, once again, I need to be able to communicate and for them to really understand so that we can make faster decisions. The faster people who make a lot of money are good at making really fast decisions. And that's because, one, we have past data and past experiences that we've gone through that can help us to know what is right or wrong. But two, we have accurate data in front of us consistently. So the combination of those two over time allows us to get very quick with our decision making, which is a very powerful thing to have, because that's how you scale a business very quickly, as opposed to making it take 3 years. We're all happy to get to the end goal in 3 years, but at the end of the day, like, wouldn't you rather get there in 3 months? So that's where we don't want to start getting emotional staring at numbers. And this is why I equip them with this CEO dashboard this kind of way. Like I said, this is not about the dashboard itself. This is about making it so that we have a way to not get so emotional staring at the numbers, watching them fluctuate day to day, right? What we don't want you doing is, sitting there refreshing your ads manager 12 times a day, right? Getting high off a good day, panicking off a bad day, right? Or just making decisions off of 48 hours worth of data. Like, this is like, you're out here basically driving a car at 90 miles per hour down the highway with no dashboard lights on. This is, it's just like, good luck. Good luck not getting pulled over. Good luck for all the things that are happening right now, right? And really, one of my B2C ventures clients, they thought that at one point in time they had a high ticket conversion problem, But the reality was that they just didn't have enough quality lead flow coming through because of really, for one, like the initial kind of channel that folks were coming through, and two, the creative wasn't getting enough volume through the funnel at the same time. So really, this is why at the end of the day, I teach folks to think this way, right? I want you to really start thinking adjusting the way that you think. And I want you to adjust it because it's the same way how I operate my own business. And it's the core message I get across to my clients inside of branded clients as well, too. It's never been about having a pretty dashboard. It's about taking the story that dashboard or your way that you're able to get the real data that matters, not the micro numbers, but let's get the macro story this is telling us. We want to take that story that is being presented to you and make decisions based off of that improve the bottom line of the business. That's it. This is how we make data-driven decisions. It's not just looking at all of the data in front of you. It's looking at what is the story the data is telling us and making decisions based off of that. That's how you scale in an effective way. There's a big difference between that and just digesting the information to simply do nothing with it, which is what a lot of coaches are doing out there right now. They have the data, they're running things, but they see it, they see what's slowing them down, but they're just not doing anything about it. They're not taking any action to fix the big bottleneck that's staring them right now, that's choking out their business, right? When you play the game at this level and you do it the right way, the way I'm trying to really steer you towards, I mean, you're basically allowing your business to print money because you know exactly which levers to pull. As I said, which knobs to turn, what switches to flip here, if you will. And just as important, you know which ones to shut down for good. Because that's when you're tracking the right way, when you're seeing the story, it shows you what's winning and it shows you what's losing. Scale up what's winning, shut down what's losing. Don't play in the gray area. Don't let things linger too long without either pushing them to the way as far as they need to go, or shutting them down before they end up crumbling the business, before they end up just robbing you, if you will, here too. All right. Take advantage of this stuff. I'm telling you, it'll make a world of a difference for you. And of course, too, if you're kind of liking how today I kind of got into the weeds with some of the data and the technical stuff, you may like another training that I'll link up above too, where I actually break down my entire AI sales team. Like really, it's kind of like how I use an AI sales team to close high ticket sales and high ticket clients on autopilot. And so I'll really, in there, I break that down for you, the lead flow of how my clients and I get high ticket clients, really, and especially at the very least, get high ticket offers out there, really to the hands of people who are our top leads and everything around there, completely on autopilot, hands off, to make it very effective to scale and really effective in a way that you can really start to lean into this lifestyle, sustainable business that I talk all the time about here too. So just as important as well too here is you can do this without needing an army of setters and closers. I run my business with myself and a virtual assistant. So the simpler we can do this, the better. So like I said, I'll link that video above. Take action there. If you got some value here, obviously like the video, subscribe. I'm dropping them every single week like I mentioned, but that's it for today. I'll see you the next one.